Fox News alert this morning, the Vatican saying that Pope Benedict XVI is resigning at the end of this month. For more on this, let's go now to Fox News religion contributor, that is Father Jonathan Morris. He joins us by phone. Perfect person to talk to. Father Jonathan, what's going on?
Hey, good morning. I was just about getting on a plane when I got the phone call, and it's a phone call you would never, ever expect to get. That is, not that the Pope has passed, but the Pope has resigned. This is stunning. It is a big surprise, even to the closest Vatican watchers.
Why, though? I mean, not why are you surprised, but why is he resigning?
Yeah. Well, if you guys have any more breaking news on that, you fill me in, because I'm just getting this as you are. But
well, I'll tell you, we can interrupt you right now and tell you that the Vatican is reporting at 85 years old a lack of strength.
Just doesn't have enough juice to do the job, essentially.
He has said in the past that if he got to a point in which physically or psychologically, mentally, he was unable to fulfill the task, he would resign. Now, keep in mind, he watched as a close advisor and close friend John Paul II in his last years as Pope. And he saw not only the angst that John Paul II went through during that time of suffering, but he also saw how the Vatican works when there's a Pope that's not able to, at his full capacity, do his job. So this is something he obviously had in mind in the past, that he could do it. It's just very surprising that he did.
So, Father Jonathan, are you suggesting that the Pope saw Pope John Paul II in his declining years and said, the people of the Catholic community need a Pope who's at 100% or as close to it as possible, so if I ever get to that stage, I'm going to just call it quits, and that's what he's doing?
It seems that is a big part of his decision. We know how close he was to John Paul II. Now, keep in mind, though, the Pope is not a manager, and this is why it's so shocking. The Pope is not first and foremost a manager. He's a defender of the faith. He's protecting or guarding the teaching of the church and of the gospel. And so you don't need somebody who's a stellar manager at his full capacity necessarily. And that's why in the past the popes have died in their office, because it was more important to make sure that there's one person at the helm who's making sure that the teachings of the Bible, the teachings of the Christian church, the teachings of the Catholic faith are being taught in their integrity.
So Father Jonathan, as we now know, we know the process of the cardinals getting together and trying to get together with to elect a new pope. He addressed the cardinals and told them this morning. How soon do you believe it will be now to a group of cardinals get together, a conclave gets together, and votes on a new guy?
Well, this is going to be different than any conclave in recent history, because there is no rush to fill the spot, right? Because there's an active pope right now. And so I think they're going to take some time. I don't know if it's been reported the date of resignation.
It is February 28th.
February 28th. Okay, so that's a lot of time, and relatively speaking, compared to previous conclaves.
Right.
We remember that John Paul II, shortly after his death, the cardinals were there and began their meetings.
Can I ask you something? Do you know the average age of the cardinals? I mean, would they be inclined to select somebody who is younger, or is that seen as not something that you do because you select somebody who has much more experience?
Well, we have two recent examples that they're very different. One, John Paul II was made pope at a very young age, relatively speaking, and then Pope Benedict, who's 85, and he was already past the normal retirement age of a priest, being elected at 78 years old. So we're going to have lots of time to talk about who will be the next pope and what he's going to look like, where he's going to be coming from, what his age will be. But this is a time that is certainly an unforgettable moment in the history of the church.
I don't know that many cardinals, but it's hard to imagine a cardinal with more charisma and presence than the one we have here, Cardinal Dolan. Do you think he's a legitimate contender?
He would respond, well, my mother thinks so.
You're exactly right.
And and he is such a likable, loving, good, holy man. I don't really know, but he'll be there putting his vote in for the next pope.
He will. And Father Jonathan, we just got a statement. This is what the Pope said earlier today in Latin. It's been translated. After having repeatedly examined my conscience before God, I have come to the certainty that my strengths, due to an advanced age, are no longer suited to an adequate exercise of the patrine ministry. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, it's a very humble statement. Times have changed, and the role of the Pope in this new age of communication has also changed. So in the past, when a Pope is there in the Vatican behind the walls, and he's, as I said, preserving the doctrine of the faith and teaching and writing, that's what he did. Nowadays, the Pope is sending out tweets.
I was just going to say, there's a Twitter account for the Pope. Who would have ever thunk that?
And so the fact that he is making this statement, I find it to be incredibly humble. I also say it's a very positive sign of changing with the times.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of times people don't go out on top, so to speak, and this is a pure example of humility in that sense. Father Jonathan, we got to wrap it up there. Hopefully you can still make your flight. Thanks so much for your time.
I'm heading back into the studio.
Okay. All right. We'll see you soon.
Indeed.
Hundreds of thousands from around the world have gathered in St. Peter's Square for the election of the new Pope.
Nearly 900 years have elapsed since St. Malachi predicted the arrival of the final Pope.
So far, only black smoke has arisen from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel.
The entire world is waiting and watching for the arrival of Petrus Romanus.
In the extreme persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills will be destroyed, and the terrible judge will judge his people. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Thomas Horn, Chris Putnam. Petrus Romanus, the final Pope, is here.